Hey everybody, welcome to G4G here on YouTube. Today I'm taking a look back at my oldest, well I shouldn't say my oldest, it is my most viewed Marvel Avengers Alliance video in history. It is not my most commented video on, but it is, this particular video is my most watched Marvel Avengers Alliance video ever. And it was called Gamora in PvP. It was basically a Doom team that centered around original Gamora and X-Force, no, excuse me, Horseman of the Apocalypse, Iceman over there doing a Doom-based team in PvP. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do this video is apparently recently a lot of my videos have contained UI elements and screens that have been helping some of the people rebuild Marvel Avengers Alliance as Marvel Avengers Alliance Redux. So I figured a video like this would kind of serve several purposes over here. It'll bring up some old screens that might be useful for people, and also it's going to be the backdrop for this video that I want to do today, which is the things that I am most looking forward to when Marvel Avengers Alliance Redux comes out. Now, let's be honest, the thing most people are looking to when MAAR releases in its public alpha later in the month is just simply the game. I mean, let's not mince words over here. Let's not beat around the bush. Obviously, getting the game back in people's hands, fans of the game that have been without this game for 2 years, that is what's going to make everybody happy. But barring that, and believing that to be the top choice, we're going to push that aside and we're going to talk about the things below that. So the fact that this video is PvP based is, believe it or not, one of the things that I would like the most about MAAR coming back, is that there is going to be no classic PvP. PvP, hey, you know, the phrase "the struggle is real" really kind of defined PvP back in this game. Sure, there were wallet warriors that could take a 64 gold item and buy hundreds of them and stock them in their armory and essentially have an armory that would just beat everybody senseless. I think I do remember calculating out that $220 needs to be spent if you were to stock your armory with gold weapons. Now remember, that's not $220 once. That is $220 every time you want to update your armory. That is absolutely ridiculous, and that is a level of whaling that I cannot possibly imagine, nor would I have ever done in this game, and I think it's ridiculous. Before I continue, let's break down some of the UI elements over here. We seem to have some kind of a quest going on for Ares, and something's up with Iron Man over there. There is a Spec Ops task of that. Is that the combat serum? I think I know the set. It's the one with the crescent. What is it? The Vibra Crescent, the Super Soldier serum, the what else was in that set? God, man, I love that Vibra Crescent. It never did a lot of damage, but its ability to put out flanked and maybe bleeding, was it? I know I used it for the flank, and I think it countered people, which put out a free flank. I really love the Vibra Crescent, but I think this is the Spec Ops with that set. And the Vibra Crescent had like the Super Soldier serum, the Combat Fist. Okay, so it had that fist that did extra damage to Hydra enemies, if I remember correctly. Oh, I know that hammer. That hammer was from the Horseman of the Apocalypse Spec Ops, and I never completed the full hammer. I only had the halfway one, or the one that was one step below The big one. Yeah, it's amazing how you could look at footage like this and just remember so much about the game that has fallen off. Um, but here we see what was a popular team at the time. And hey, you know what? Where this video may come in handy is around the time that these guys would be due up in PvP. You get to see a common team of the time. And apparently I had not turned on speedy combat yet over here. So we have a Bruiser Agent versus a Bruiser Agent. I was running 3 pieces of the Four Horsemen set along with the Neurotrope. And I had Tactician Gamora. So this was prior to her movie suit. Because remember, not all of the Guardians came out with the movie suit. Some of them came out with other outfits first. And man, can you really remember how bad Famine Rogue was at the time? I don't mean bad as in she was a bad character. I mean bad as in like badass. She was positively vicious at around this time of the game, especially when you had Pesty going out there. And it looked like Pesty took a stun. And it's Tactician Pesty, so we don't have to worry about the counters. I'm probably going to spray them down with the Exobliv. Yep. This was definitely a memorable time in PvP when this Horseman set was out. It is one of the times in PvP that I remember the most, as I often used Beast and Nico. I don't remember if this team was just... Oh, man, that Pulse Blade. Certainly remember that. That name of that mace he has... And Sir Nabith or something? Hopefully we'll see it in the video. I don't remember, but I remember Iceman had a lot of accuracy problems at around this time. But there's double stun. That's the one decent thing about slow combat over here, is we really get to appreciate all the debuffs that are going out and everything, and you really get to see some very interesting things about the combat over here. So Gamora, this version of Gamora, not movie Gamora, definitely would be one of the things that I would miss. But back on topic, I kind of will be happy not to have to worry about PvP the way that I used to, because there is a speed bump when it comes to PvP that was both good and bad. When you got to a level in which you got really good at PvP and you started getting the higher ranks, you were happy with yourself, but by the same token it was a lot of work to stay there. And while you did see the results of your efforts coming true, you... Oh, here comes a Coulson. Not actually a very strong hit for a Coulson, but he probably has a migraine going on at the moment. It certainly was an ulcer attack to keep your PvP up there. Like, once you started breaking into Ada and Vibranium and everything, it takes work to stay there. And that is one of the bad parts about it, is it sort of backfires on you. But then, again, you get over the speed bump again, and you just very easily maintain Ada, and that's when you become a 2000 player. And it was probably very easy to stay there, as you generally had winning teams and winning gear and winning armory. But it's like that first Ada season that you get, and then the one after that where you feel like you're losing your mind. And, you know, that'll be pretty good to not have to worry about, or not have to PvP in order to get a character or do a Spec Ops task or something like that. So that'll be fun. Apparently here in this fight I missed Despairing Rogue, which is why she healed to full over there. That was a definite shortcoming on my part, that I did not put the wand over there. That second one in that says not usable, I did. Woof. It was a good no mercy hit though. Another thing that I'm looking forward to, so the overall category is the sounds. I'm looking forward to these sounds again, and I've mentioned them in videos, but there are some sounds that really are burned in my brain, and I can't wait to hear again. Like that Iceman beam was one of the sound effects that I liked. I always liked the sound effect of a lot of the swords in this game had very, very interesting sound effects for me, and I loved the shink shink sound that you got out of most of the swords in this game. I always found them good. Graphically, there's a lot of moves that I'm super excited to... Yeah, see, should have used the wand over there, and I didn't. Instead, I exoblived her again, which did remove an enrage, which is not bad, but may have slightly screwed that up. Some of the abilities that I know I'm definitely looking forward to, Sif throwing the sword. I always like that ability, and I do admit part of why I like that ability is she does have, she has a very nice pose for that ability. She's got legs that you might joke and say is down with the thickness. See that? Yeah, that's what somebody called me out in the video comments on this one, that by not putting despair on her, she healed again, and that causes me my agent over here. I actually had two things that could have put out despair, so I kind of botched this one. I don't know if I win this of Iceman versus Rogue at this point. She has higher hit points, and technically she's a considerably harder hitter. However, that X-Obliv right before my agent died might have put enough dots on her that she'll just tick down. So this will be a very interesting fight. In the comics, clearly Iceman would win, as he's Omega level and Rogue is not. But in this game, under the best of circumstances, I would absolutely think Famine Rogue would beat Iceman over here, especially with something like that. Absorb power, the drain. I mean, she really crippled offenses at the time. It was so hard to believe in any other suit for Rogue being good, because Fam Rogue was just so good at the time and held such a high power level for such a long time. But anyway, so some of the abilities I'm looking forward to again, like I was saying, Sif has got a lot of abilities I would love to see again. In doing the pre-alpha videos, the Hulk, I really didn't know that I would miss Hulk's abilities so much, but they're just so strong when they go off, and they're very visceral, and they absolutely seem to fit the moves and everything. It's such a solid thud, where conversely I think Colossus is not somebody I would look forward to. I can't believe I pulled that off. That's absolutely ridiculous that I won that battle. Whose lockbox is that up there? I think it's Taskmaster, because it looks like that's a T on the side of it, and I think that's purple and black, which it's not Thane. I think that's a Taskmaster lockbox up there, but Magik is another one. A lot of Magik's abilities were very, very fun to watch and listen to, so I'm looking forward to playing around with Magik again. Psylocke. One of my favorite abilities in the game was Psylocke's level 1. That step in, upswing, downswing with the Psy blades was definitely my favorite move in the entire game. Not for what it did, although it actually was a very, very hard-hitting ability, but it was the sound effects of it that almost lightsabery, but a little bit more mechanical, robotic. Love the graphics for it. Love the sound effects for it. I loved her psychic knives. That's another one with a shink shink. Was very, very good. Her level 9. And she held, her and X-Force Archangel held a very, very dear place for me. Because they were two primary PvP teams for me throughout the years. Not only did they help me once, they would come around again years later and help me again when everything under the sun had been nerfed except for stealth teams. So, Hogun, man, almost all of Hogun's abilities I'm looking forward to doing again. Havoc's plasma spheres was always another one of my favorite abilities. The Nico is, man, I would love if Marvel Avengers Alliance Redux could somehow make a way of knowing what abilities you had done with Nico, like put some kind of a mark. Oh, wait, I'm going to pause. Okay, so there it is. Let's look at the gear on this page over here and reminisce a little bit. So that's a Sinister Scepter. That's the Mind Launcher. That's the Hot Shot. That's the Vibra-Crescent. The Signpost. The Nanite Gun. This is that gun that triggers mines. That's the Combat Serum. That's that Hydra Killing Fist. That's the ice version, the Deathly Freeze Ray. That's one of the Electro Hammers. That is not the Thanophage, which I never managed to get. That's one of the Demon set ones, I think. I know that gun, but I don't remember the name of that gun. This is the one... So you see a lot of Winter Soldier related gear over here. And of course the Cosmic Cardinal. I mean, who does... No, this isn't the Sinister Scepter. This is Thorny. So Thorny was a very, very interesting weapon that I had. And that's the Staff of Asclepios. And I think this is the Titanium RPG. That's not Whistling Steel. I don't know what that sword is. I don't think it's Whistling Steel. Thorny was very, very interesting. It was always one of my hidden little gems that not a lot of people seem to have. Oh, so the high capacity incinerator unit. Okay. Adrenaline and burning. I remember that gun. I think I used to use it on symbiotes. Oh, I wish I hovered over that sword long enough. Oh, there it is. Am I using Thorny? Yes, okay, good. I'm using Thorny. I remember this team. This was my primary team at the time of Pesty Beast and Captain Steve Rogers. Nobody really got CSR very well. Everybody's like, oh, you know, original Captain suits are so much better. But CSR was a toolkit. Like, he just did everything. And people, I think, ridiculously underestimated that outfit. Because everybody was so entranced with Captain America being a tank. Nobody really appreciated him when he was offensive. And that's what CSR was. But Hotshot, Thorny, the Signpost, and one of the... God, I wish I would mouse over to get... That's one of the Demon set weapons over there. So, that's the Tactician version of CSR. That wasn't the Scrapper version. And that was my defending team. And they held their own over there. Remember how ridiculously broken P5 Cyclops was at this time? Like, how many times he came back from the dead with Don't Die On Me, or well, how many times he rezzed other people with the Don't Die On Me. Cyclops is another character that I'm looking forward to doing again. That flanking strike that he did, the complete visor off ability where he AoE'd everybody. And if I can come back to Psylocke for a second, she was so good in this game that when Marvel Heroes came out, and Psylocke was released for Marvel Heroes, I jumped all over her. It sounds perverted, I don't mean it to be, but I jumped all over getting her in the game, and I was ridiculously disappointed. Ooh, I gotta go back a little bit, because I want to see what Thorny did, because I used to love Thorny so much. but I was always really disappointed in the fact that she was just not as good in Marvel Heroes as she was in Marvel Avengers Alliance. Now, she's new to Marvel Future Fight, and she's considered good, but I still think in any game that I've ever played that's had Psylocke in it, Marvel Avengers Alliance just made her very visceral. Just she sounded so powerful in this game, and she looked it. I'm not... Here's one thing I'm not looking forward to. Not looking forward to Agent Venom's out of control when he goes to Venom. If there was ever an ISO... There needs to be an ISO in Marvel Avengers Alliance Redux that allows you to control him when he switches. Or you can control when he switches rather than it be random. I would love to see those as ISOs for some kind of... Maybe like a Venom movie event, that there's an ISO that you could switch him into Bruiser form when you wanted to. But Pincushion, Death Frost, Poison, yeah. See, this was the interesting thing about Thorny, is it gave you all of the debuffs that you would get from the Demon set, even if you didn't use that item. So, I'm running the Hot Shot, and I think the reason why I was using Thorny is I was feeding the Hot Shot Death Frost from Thorny, even though I wasn't... Or is it Signpost maybe did it too? But yeah, Signpost did Poison. Okay. So I was feeding the Hot Shot Poison and Death Frost from Thorny over here. So like Hulk, Magik, Psylocke's abilities. I kind of miss playing Dr. Voodoo. I don't necessarily miss his sound or his graphics, but I had a very, very good PvP pattern in Dr. Voodoo, and I would love to have him back. Pesty, of course, was a ridiculous game changer, and I'm looking for the mind games again. I'm looking to build those interesting teams and to start building up an inventory again of really, really good gear and start doing crazy things with the gear again. I don't know that there's any crazy patterns left to find in the game. We had 4 years of it, and I definitely was one of those people who tried to put together ridiculous things when it came to agent gear and like hero ISO and everything. So I don't know that anything will be fresh about that, but it'll be fun just to do again. I mean, I look at this screen and I'm so... Just looking at these UI elements, I'm so nostalgic for what we had. And that Hot Shot, that's nostalgia bomb right there. When my Hot Shot eventually got over leveled, but I mean, that gun put in so much work for me this season, sometimes getting, you know, triple stuns and everything. I miss how much I hated Infiltrator Pesty for how dangerous he was. That season where Infiltrator P5 Emma Frost with the pre-firing Infiltrator ISO was just so ridiculous, and what it was like to try and walk around her and not get a psychic tap. The Molly Hayes Invisible Woman air pressure seasons, how much of a mental chess match was that to fight a team that had as, like, do you get rid of Invisible Woman to get rid of air pressure, or do you get rid of Molly Hayes before she goes into a tantrum? Because if she goes into her tantrum, you're going to be here for 6 years. No game makes you think the way Marvel Avengers Alliance did. No game really puts things on the line of like, well, what is the highest threat? What is the thing I need to take out over here? Marvel Strike Force does do it. There are threat levels when you're doing Marvel Strike Force. And what's funny is PvP, the story mode, doesn't always change a lot because any of the characters are usable just about anywhere. I mean, you can get into a story mode mission with a Captain America and an Iron Man. You might even face them in PvP. So, it does it. And you do have to pick your highest threats. Like, what are you getting rid of? Are you getting rid of the tank so you can get to everybody else? Are you AoEing people down? But man, Marvel Avengers Alliance made that so good that one wrong move, one idiot move could cost you everything about a PvE fight or a PvP fight. And, you know, who is the highest target to go for? That's what I missed. That's what I'm going to be looking forward to again, is that chess match. And another thing I'm looking forward to is the reset switch for everybody. You know, everybody is going to be even, relatively. I mean, we're all starting back at 0-1, and a wallet warrior won't be so high, and a noob won't be so low again. I mean, I wasn't a Spartan yet at this point, so this was recorded back in 2014, and, you know, it didn't get the most amount of comments over here, other than the fact, like, this one over here definitely called me out of not putting the spare on Rogue, which really should have cost me the match over there. But I'm looking forward to so much about this game, especially when it gets into this kind of a polished state. The pre-alpha now with the hero fights and everything is great, and I get to relive some of it. Nightcrawler's 3-hit ability where he's constantly teleporting, always love that one. I hate it when it happened to my team, but that's another one that just had a very unique visual aspect, a very unique sound to that one. Ares, man, I'm gonna look forward to fighting Ares again and things, and how much I hated that chain gun, or how much you hated when you saw an ability go out that did AoE stuns and you were on the edge of your seat trying to see if the stun would affect one of your people, none of your people, or all three of them. And that hot shot did it for me. Like, I used to wait with bated breath to see how many people would get stunned by that, and also how much I would get stunned by it if an enemy team used it. So I'm really, really looking forward to Marvel Avengers Alliance coming back as Redux, and just looking forward to sharing this game with people again. So let me know in the comments below if you had this game back in this state. Like, if you had the game back the way it ended, what would you consider the things that you would be interested to? Like, where in the candy store would you immediately run to when the door was open? Would you go for agent gear that you really loved? Would you go for characters that you want back? What what moves are you interested in seeing again? What moves are you interested in hearing again? And same thing for the gear. Like, what agent gear do you want to see go off again? Do you want to see a cosmic devastation from the cube? Do you want to pop somebody with a mystic? Do you want to hear I can't even think, like a weather control, like, do you want to hear the weather control device go out or something like that, or the Coulson's firing? So let me know. I'm really, really interested. Thanks for watching, guys, and have a good one. By the way, I am in North Carolina, so if you don't see some videos from me for a little bit, it's potentially because I don't have power or internet, as Hurricane Florence is bearing down on us in a day or two. So I'm going to try and get some videos out before this hurricane comes by, but I really have no idea what's going to happen. So wish us luck, and hopefully we'll see you on the other side of this storm. Peace out, everybody.